wearing a fine suit, paying by a credit card, but I cannot prove myself. I can't believe she'd host an entire funeral just for her Nintendo Wii. The things nerds do, man. The things nerds do. So, I ended up bricking my childhood Wii. I suffered from a power outage, the thing couldn't start into the Wii menu, and I ended up making things worse when trying to fix it. But I was smart to back up the NAND, in other words system files and memory, and as said, I got an extra Wii from a yard sale, so not all is lost as I can still do what I do best. Nerd the fuck out over things that don't benefit the modern society at all. It's always nice to see when gaming consoles often imbue their own little charm into stuff like their digital storefronts, or even have extra little side services that are simply meant to bring players together and other later things. Stuff that isn't needed for the core gaming experience, but benefits it in a large way. But here's the kicker. Server costs exist. When a new generation rolls around, game companies usually shut down the servers for online services on their console that's lived their life. But of course, there are people who don't want that fate, those people being freaks like me. So what better to do than take matters into the hands of passionate developers and bring the services back online unofficially. Either having the continuation have the same features as the original, or perhaps even provide new ones. Though for the case of console services, Nintendo systems are usually the only ones that get fan revivals due to their homebrewing scenes being the largest. So that's what I want to cover for this video, the fan continuations of Nintendo's online services. I think a good place to start is with the central online services for the Wii, that being Nintendo WFC and Wii Connect 24, as well as the Wii U and 3DS, that being Nintendo Network and Spot Pass. These not only were how online play was possible with Nintendo exclusive games, but also allowed core functions of general applications to work, such as the news and forecast channels on the Wii. Now, I'm not sure if I'm correct here, but I would assume the majority of general apps that would use their own servers separate from Wii Connect 24 or Nintendo Network would be stuff like streaming services such as Netflix and Hulu. Wii Connect 24 would also be used for sending mail within the Wii message board to users on other systems. Nintendo waited a year after the Wii U's launch in 2012 before killing off Wii Connect 24, shutting it down on June 27, 2013. Though the Wii Shop channel would stick around until 2019, Nintendo Network, however, managed to survive for quite a while, only shutting down on April 8, 2024, around 7 years after the Switch rolled around. It's honestly crazy to think that Nintendo Network's remaining years after the Switch launched was longer than the generation lifespan of the Wii U itself. The closure of Nintendo Network would also be the end of life for Spot Pass, which was the method for downloading special info about software, such as small bits of extra content in games, official Miis with gold pants complete with their own sparkle effect, and for the Nintendo Video app, in which Spot Pass provided updates to the rotation of videos shown. The primary revival for WFC is Wimpy, or Weemfi, and the primary revival for Wii Connect 24 was Reconnect 24, in which they both pretty much provided the same thing for restoring everything from WFC and Wii Connect 24 with really nothing more, which I would say that is adequate enough. Though notice how I said Reconnect 24 was the primary revival, as in September of 2020, it merged with another Wii Connect 24 revival, Wii Link, to become Wii Link 24. Though it would later drop the 24 from the name, so now it's just Wii Link again. Dude, the opportunity to call it Relink was right there. As for Nintendo Network's revival, what's easily considered the primary revival for that would be Pretendo Network. But when the topic of the Wii U's online services are brought up, it's hard not to mention Miiverse, which, as most remember, was a really experimental idea from Nintendo to have a social network service baked onto the Wii U. The service was absolutely brimming with its culture, with a lot of bizarre posts being very iconic, my personal favorite being draw yourself in the comments. Some specific users were also immortalized into meme status, such as Mario Wii U, who complimented water graphics a lot, which you know, as one does. Certain communities would also pretty much have unofficial purposes, such as YouTube being the general page, New Super Luigi U being used for shitposting, Balloon Fight being used by Earthbound fans before its release onto Virtual Console. The service had many cultures of its own, making it certainly tragic for many, including myself, when the service was shut down on November 8th, 2017, which makes it no surprise that there were quite a lot of revivals for Miiverse, one of the earliest being Closedverse. Now, I'm not exactly familiar with it, but it seemed very promising, at least initially, with plenty of great features like lifting the post restrictions introduced into Miiverse in 2015, a dark mode option, putting images including GIFs into posts, having color options for drawings, custom image profile icons, a whole bunch of things that made the service really appealing. The thing was, though, the community kind of burned down. There was as much controversy within Closedverse as much as there were amazing improvements to the Miiverse experience. Poor moderation, lots of infighting between users. The developers turned out to be the kind of device bundled with personal trainer walking, safest way to describe it. And I'm probably not even scratching the surface. The controversies just makes this really sad to look back on. So what other kind of Miiverse revivals we got? There's our verse. That one closed down. Oh, Juxtaposition's still up since it's a part of Pretendo Network. All of these scars weren't in vain after all. Unlike me, Juxt is what I'd say is the go-to Miiverse revival, though since there are only a few community pages at the time of writing, it's pretty small in my eyes right now, even for an unofficial service. My art commissions are now open with PayPal and Cash App as accepted payments. Contact me on Discord for more information. I need something lighter to lift my spirits from this, so it's a pretty smart decision for me to now move over to one of the Wii channels that had their own services. In this case, We No Ma, a Japan-exclusive channel unofficially dubbed in English as Wii Room. The original run of the channel was basically meant as a primitive TV service, letting you stream TV series as well as rentable movies and even use a shopping network where you could buy real physical goods and you'd pay with Wii Points, which is probably one of, if not the only time Wii Points were used outside of downloading software on the Wii Shop channel. Nearing the end of the service's lifecycle, it even offered merchandise that you would have unique designs based on the Mii you defined during your order. The service closed on April 30th of 2012, which means I can claim that the following clip was probably what We No Ma users were like that day.
Do you know what day it is today?
April 30th?
With this being a Japan-exclusive channel, it would be a while before we'd see any sort of unofficial continuation, since it would require an entire translation for those in the States. After a beta testing period in October 2020, WiiLink released their revival for Wii Room on July 6, 2024, bringing back at least some of the series on We No Ma, including Waka Final Send-Off Meeting. But where WiiLink Room really shined was with its new content, bringing in videos from several YouTube content creators that fit the niche of just liking the Wii in the modern day. Michael MJD, Big Sleater, For Me, I think that's how it's pronounced. These are all really solid choices for bringing people's content over to your service, as well as other random content submitted by donators. Now, with the Wii having no HD output, watching these videos on WiiLink Room is a hard sell, but I don't know, I think it would be great to do things like cut out all of the promotional segments and such. I mean, I do make that suggestion partially due to how picky I am with how creators monetize their videos, including myself, but regardless, I think that would have been a really nice bonus to throw in, and I doubt it would have made that much of a dent on the possible views of the YouTube upload, since the people watching on WiiLink Room are more likely going out of their way just to watch it there for the novelty anyways. A more considerable disadvantage with the Wheelink Room versions of the videos being almost, if not identical, to the YouTube upload is that the things mentioned in the videos that involve the context of the videos being on YouTube, that doesn't really work in the context of being on Wii Room. Such as when the creator says, "This thing I mentioned has a link to it in the description." But I guess it's easily passable though, since the viewers soft-modded their Wii homebrewed in Wii Room, they're most likely aware that these videos were brought over from YouTube. But you wanna know what's objectively bad? Janky-ass aspect ratios. So Cosmiz is one of the creators who have their videos featured, and most of his videos are in the widescreen 16:9 aspect ratio. One video of his that is in 4x3, however, is the one about Tsukuban Sacho Rena, a Wii game infamous for having horrifyingly low sales. Now, why is this one in 4x3? I honestly have no idea, but for the Wii Room upload, they stretch it into widescreen. Why? The screen. Why the screen stretching? Now, my critiques aren't meant as anything against Cosmiz or any other featured creators on the surface, not in the slightest, but don't you think this is a pretty big oversight? But you may be asking, videos in Wheelink Room aren't meant to focus on exclusive content, Lynn. It's not meant to be a genuine alternative to watching the YouTube uploads. Then what's with Wheelink Room exclusive series? That's right, Wheelink Originals are series that those without homebrew knowledge are fucked out of. Which I'm not saying that's something horrible or anything, I guess just a bit unusual at worst. There are a few series available at the time of writing, probably the main one being Homebrew Tea. Basically a series about the latest things going on in the Nintendo homebrewing community. Now that's something that fits perfectly with only being available for homebrewed systems, since it's not exactly something that could be understood easily by those who haven't had experience with soft modding their gaming systems. Though I really do wish the episodes cut down on the filler, as the random unrelated stuff in the episodes feel like they just clog up the actual homebrew news talk, rather than actually make the episodes memorable from their style. Another Wheelink original series is Sound Chamber, where each episode is basically a showcase of works from a smaller music producer associated with that episode. Which I suppose is a pretty neat concept for a web series, even if it is usually just a compilation of music videos. I mean, that's how early MTV thrived, and I'm all for supporting indie creators through showcases like Sound Chamber anyways. So I guess there's my answer on what the point of Wheelink Originals are. I think these shows do well in not feeling like you'd be missing out on really cool things to watch if you can't homebrew, which I actually kinda like. I guess I wouldn't be completely opposed to that sentiment being different, though I would be a bit worried about how the originals would be handled if it was. Overall, Wheelink Room's a pretty good revival, and I'm sure with some polishing up, it could be something really special. Onto another Wii service that was Japan exclusive during its official lifespan, the Demei channel let users order real food through the Japanese delivery service the Maicon, in which the user would pay the one delivering when they got to the address. Wii points couldn't be used, though that would be pretty funny if you could pay with them. Lasting from August 2009 to the end of March 2017, this channel would only be seen as a cool novelty that those in the West envied to have until it was given a continuation as part of Wheelink in 2022. But the question is, can you still order real food in some way through this channel? Surprisingly, yes, though there ironically wasn't support for it added back into the original Japanese channel. The US and UK translations of the channels made by the Wheelink developers each have their own unique systems to make real ordering possible. For the US, you can only order from Domino's Pizza, and the UK version communicated through the delivery service Deliveroo, though apparently the Deliveroo functionality had ended in 2023. I mean, if the Wheelink does want to hit me up, I can make Deliveroo functionality possible, I swear. Other services I wanted to at least mention are revivals for game-specific platforms, such as DIYFI for WarioWare DIY and Teleview Plus. I recommend checking those out if you've been interested in getting into those. Lastly, I wanted to talk about Flipnote Studio. This DSi animation software is pretty complete by itself, but the thing that made this truly special for most was the entire online platform for it, that being Flipnote Hatena, named off of the networking company that Nintendo partnered with to host the servers for. This was pretty much an entire retro social media for sharing the animations you've made onto it, and from what I could remember, it was an absolute blast to see all the Flipnotes that were relics of the early 2010s internet culture. Not only do I vividly remember seeing a recreation of the iconic YouTube poop The Sky Had a Ouija, but even searching it up on YouTube shows uploads of Flipnotes from back in the day of various animators' takes on it under the original video. I don't remember what it was like when the service was closing, which it did at the end of May 2013, but with how beloved the service was, it's no surprise that users were just as vocal as with Miiverse when wanting the service to stay. Though there were a few other attempted revivals, the largest continuation for Flipnote Hatena nowadays is Pseudomemo, launching on January 2014, which is surprisingly close after the shutdown date for the initial run. It's pretty much the Flipnote it was back then, which isn't that surprising since it was around for long enough that it knew exactly what the original Flipnote Hatena was, though with a few extra things added in over the years. Pseudomemo has a fursona as its mascot though, so you know it's infinitely better. One feature I find really neat on the service was a limited time game built into the interface of the service named PseudoQuest, which was basically a small RPG. I can't find any footage of the gameplay, but it was really shallow from what I played. The combat only had the option of either attacking or fleeing, but as an aspiring game dev myself that has publicly released one really small game, I can commend this as an impressive feat, building an RPG that worked around the limitations with the interface of a video hosting service. Overall, Pseudomemo can very well be considered the part 2 to the Flipnote Hatena service. So yeah, those were just a few revival services I wanted to go over, at least for now. If you have any services you'd want to mention in the comments, feel free to, and if I decide to make a follow-up to this video, then I'll take a look at the suggestions here. But for now, I have a delivery to make. A delivery. Yo, I'm your delivery woman.
Oh, nice. Let me go get my wallet.
I also take Wii points.
Oh shit, really?
Is what I would have said if this was before 2019.
Fuck you.